Did you watch the episode? Was it this tonight or yesterday?
I actually watched it last night. The first time I watched it on a Tuesday night.
Yeah, I got on Twitter and I saw people were saying things. I was like, oh, that's right, it's on. So, like, I had the ending spoiled, but I
actually didn't. I didn't have anything spoiled. I just, back to what we were talking about before we started recording, I was sitting in bed and my wife was like, I'm going to sleep. And I'm like, I'm not tired yet, so I will turn on Ahsoka.
I thought it was a great episode. So much better than the other ones.
Hey, we'll save it because we haven't done our intro. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Dads of Dagobah. Another Ahsoka episode review coming to you with our hot takes and our
spicy takes.
Deep admiration for Dave Filoni and what he's doing with live action Ahsoka.
And our knowledge of all the characters' names and all the names of the planets they're on.
Yes.
Listen, a fun episode, but we got to get to the word of the week.
Lay it on me.
My word of the week is I forgot. Dang nabbit. Oh, it was Kung Fu fighting? That's what it was.
Kung Fu fighting.
Hoo-yay, with a little Kung Fu action. Okay, Sean's thinking of his word. What is it, Sean?
My word of the week is misdirection. Because I think there were a couple of things that happened in this week's episode that I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, there were a few things
that I wasn't quite expecting.
Listen, I still think Cal Kestis, they're not called a witch of Dathomir. What are the men called? A son of Dathomir? He was Marok. He was that was him. Anyway, we'll talk about it. But overall, I felt like it was a really great episode. A great beginning, middle, and end. And Sean, Ahsoka showed some emotions this week, it seemed like.
Yeah, I think the first 3 episodes, most of our, I guess you could call it critique or criticism of the show has been just kind of the deadpan, muted performance of Ahsoka as a character. And we're like, we need to understand a little bit where she's coming from in any of this, with any of these actions she's taking. And yeah, I felt like this week was a good step forward to feel like, okay, all right. I like what I'm seeing.
All it took was her getting her hand burned. Or I guess before that that was the first thing. And then like she thought Sabine had died. And I was like, oh, she does care about Sabine.
Yeah. Oh, she's upset that Sabine died? Although I will say, not to skip forward, but I will say when Sabine is dueling the other chick, I'm like, and Sabine's like, I got this. Go. Just go. I got this. If I was Ahsoka, I'd be like, you don't got this.
I know.
I've been training you. You definitely do not have this. And it would take me 5 seconds to come over here and tidy this up. Because Ahsoka would have dominated that apprentice girl. And then we can go and head over. Because let me just say, spoiler, I don't want to get, we're going out of order here with the episode. But the time it took for the coordinates to move around the little, control panel or whatever, they had all the time in the world.
They sure did.
So, in fact, I felt like every single time it was only moving one little tick, and then at the last time we saw it still needed 4 or 5, and then the next time they turned it on, it was like, yep, it's done. We're like, what? How did it go so fast?
Was it preloading was it buffering while it was disconnected? Anyway, we got to see a little bit of our boy Huyang. Now, I read today, is he 2,500 years old or 25,000 years old?
I have no idea.
Okay. Because someone on some video said he was 25,000. I'm like, what? Anyway.
That would be like Dawn of the Jedi era, right?
I think
Or
even
no?
before then. Because
Oh.
isn't... Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, maybe so.
I don't know. I would go with
2,500.
That seems more reasonable.
He had a little joke where he had to alert the other people that he was being attacked, and so he sabotaged, and that's what alerted them. Oh, why did he do that? He didn't do it. Let's go. Anyway, or he did it on purpose.
I thought it was funny that he didn't immediately call for help. He just starts fighting, and then once the guy kind of put the hand over his mouth, he's like, help, help, help.
And then I guess it's just a big diversion, right? Which, here's what why didn't they just start doing the map thing without attacking them? Because I felt like by attacking them, it drew them out. Yeah. Like, hey, we got this map thing. It takes like 10 minutes to load. We don't want them out here. So go draw them out here. Go Plus, get them.
They basically, I mean, I guess they're the bad guys, so we shouldn't be too surprised, but they're just willingly sacrificing those guys. Like, they won't be able, they fully acknowledged they won't be able to stop them. Like, yeah, we know, but they won't even slow them down. This is literally just cannon fodder to send these people to their deaths for no reason. But anyway.
But I mean, I feel like Sabine and Ahsoka were just in the ship, right? I mean, what were they doing? They were just kind of chit-chatting, right? Waiting for the ship to be fixed.
Yeah.
They weren't actively...
They were trying to fix the ship. They were trying to fix the transmitter to send a message to Hera. But
so what alerted them was when... How did they find out that the map was being used at that moment? Did something... What happened?
I don't think they knew the map was being used. I think they just knew there was a ground base nearby.
Yeah. And then what's-her-face started running, and they started chasing her.
But first, we had to have this interaction that I feel like was very interesting of basically Ahsoka calling out Sabine, like, if we can't get the map back, are you prepared to destroy it? Therefore, losing any chance of ever finding Ezra. And Sabine kind of doesn't really answer. She's like, that's not going to happen. Well, guess what, Sabine? That's exactly what happened.
Yeah, but I don't understand why Ahsoka would say that. Like, they know about the whales, right?
Yeah, I guess that's a great question. What is preventing Ezra from tapping into his Free Willy buddy and just coming back?
Or Ahsoka and Sabine saying to the whales, hey, you got our friend. Can you at least tell us where, give us a ride? We'll pay you. We'll give you some whatever they were eating, and I don't know.
I also am just still I know you talked me off the ledge on the first episode review that we did of this, but I'm still just skeptical of if Thrawn does come back and he's the heir to the Empire. You see how they threw that in there? A little Easter egg, her saying heir to the Empire. I'm like, really? What? I guess I just don't know what level of urgency or threat we should be feeling from him coming back. How large is the Imperial remnant? And why do we feel like him coming back is a huge threat?
Why do we care?
Why do we care? But I guess we're just supposed to believe that it would be. I felt the same way about the First Order and the Resistance. It felt like 3 ships versus 2 ships in a whole freaking galaxy. And I'm like, this is like the fate of the galaxy is resting on these 15 people versus these 40 people. And you're like, come on. Who's going to win?
You talking about in Last Jedi with the slow chase through space?
You know that's what I'm talking about. But anyway, yeah. So it set up this kind of dynamic of Ahsoka's prepared to. Her priority is Thrawn cannot come back, even if that means we lose Ezra. Sabine obviously is in the camp of we got to do anything we can to get Ezra back.
Mm-hmm.
And even if it means bringing Thrawn back and unleashing that threat on the galaxy.
So they kind of have the same purpose, but totally different ways about doing it, right?
Yes. Different motivations, but they want the same outcome, which is find that map.
Mm-hmm. We get a little battle. I mean, I guess a larger battle in the middle of the woods, a la kind of Force Awakens-y, where Ahsoka takes on Marok and single blades him and slices straight through his spinning blade. No problem. Seemed like it.
He was just a ghost Pokemon, and the little gas spirit floated away.
Yeah, it was kind of like when I saw it and it was kind of green, I thought maybe he was a bewitched person from the Dathomir ladies.
Maybe he was just like a reanimated corpse.
Yeah, that'd be kind of creepy.
But anyway, I mean, it totally. If that was true, though, maybe he's not actually dead. Maybe they just need to pump some more green magic into him and he'll come right back.
Maybe it was Moff Gideon, one of his. Can you imagine? Yeah, kind of made us look like chumps with our Cal Kestis theory that you were all on board with, but I was kind of skeptical of in the first place.
I think saying our Cal Kestis theory is a little bit strong.
Listen,
because I was on the Star Killer train thinking that was Sam Witwer in there. Which now I'm totally on board with another Sam Witwer theory that I saw on Twitter. We can talk about later in the episode, but
no, Sam Witwer was credited in the first episode because he says something about the Chosen One in her little temple run thing. Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, sure. That's all well and good, but Sam Witwer is going to still be in this. He'll show up again.
Well, tell us now.
Well, it has to do with the very end of this episode, the big reveal at the end. So do we want to go there now?
Let's do it. I mean, we're talking about this. People know the episode.
Okay, so obviously at the end of this, Ahsoka ends up in the world between worlds, and she gets a little visit from her old Jedi master. Actually, never received the rank of master, unfortunately.
Yeah,
but
Jedi Knight.
Her master, the Jedi Knight, Anakin Skywalker. And so, I think that scene is obviously it's a huge cameo that everyone's very excited about. Like, this is amazing. Live action Anakin is back with Ahsoka, but it's in a unique setting here where it's the world between worlds. It doesn't look like he's a Force ghost. This is not a Force ghost. This is like a tangible person here.
This is like episode 3 or before Anakin.
So many possibilities are happening here. Totally. One is legitimately it's just straight up Anakin, and he found his way into the world between worlds at some point during the prequel trilogy, and he's meeting up with Ahsoka from
the future,
30 years later or whatever it is.
40, 50 years, isn't it?
Yeah. So he's just, and they're crossing paths here in the world between worlds. That's option 1. Option 2 that I've seen some people theorize is it's Anakin has found his way to the world between worlds, but he's already Vader. That it is post falling to the dark side, but pre Mustafar getting burned.
There wasn't that much time.
Right. That's a theory out there, though, that I've seen on Twitter. That, like, Palpatine showed him, because Palpatine knows about the doors in the world between worlds, and Palpatine showed him how to access it somehow. I don't think either of those are true. The theory that I've latched onto is that is not actually Anakin. That is the son. Son is an S-O-N. The son from Mortis. Remember that Clone Wars arc when Anakin's on Mortis and there's the son and the daughter and their representation, and the daughter represents the light and the son represents the dark. And the world between worlds is like either protected or overseen by those figures. And so is this just the son of Mortis posing as Anakin? And who's going to play when he finally reveals himself that he's not actually Anakin, that this is an illusion, that he's deceiving Ahsoka? Who's going to play the son? Sam Witwer. Sam Witwer is going to play the son. Joseph.
Did he voice the guy in that Clone Wars episode?
I don't think so.
Where are you getting the Sam Witwer then from?
Because it just all makes sense. Just all makes sense. Because why else were they playing the Vader theme when Anakin's smiling at her like, "Hey, happy reunion," and then it cuts to black and the Vader theme starts playing. It's like, so something sinister is happening.
That would be fascinating.
If it's not actually Anakin, she's being deceived by some illusion.
Yeah, is it too much though for a live action show where 10% of the audience has seen that episode of Clone Wars?
Were you surprised that we even went into the world between worlds? I mean, it is a Filoni creation.
I'm not surprised. I felt like this would probably happen.
Well, how did she get in? Did Anakin pull her in, or did she?
Is she dead?
I don't think she's dead. They're already producing a season 2. She can't be dead.
No, I think she'll come out of the world between worlds, and I think she'll then be Ahsoka the White. This whole thing is totally lining up with Gandalf the Grey in the Mines of Moria. Falls off a ledge, trying to protect his friends, goes into this other world where he's given a rebirth.
But that's not Star Wars. That's Lord of the Rings.
This is it.
Is there a precedent for someone coming out of the world between worlds as a changed,
none whatsoever?
Metamorphosized?
Is there precedent for Sam Witwer to just be playing some guy, some bad Force guy?
Not some guy. The personification, embodiment of the dark side.
What's
Joseph.
his name? Do they have names?
The son.
The son and the daughter, right?
Yes.
And they have like the hand symbols or something, right?
Yeah.
His is the fist, hers is the open palm, or I can't remember.
Yeah. But anyway, I mean, what's your take on the Anakin thing? Do you think it's just him?
I think it's like a Clone Wars era, General Skywalker.
And he's just gonna like give her some advice and say good luck, and he'll head back to his door in time.
Well, he said something to her like, "I didn't expect to be seeing you so soon." Isn't that what he said?
I can't remember. Maybe. I know he says, "Hey, Snips."
And it's not like he was confused at her age, right?
Right, because she was a young Padawan, a little girl during his era of the Clone Wars. So to see like a 40-year-old, 50-year-old woman standing in front of him, and he didn't seem too concerned by it.
Yeah, that's just like sometimes the easiest answer is the answer. I feel like that's the answer. It's just a Clone Wars era Anakin.
But have you seen these clips that are kind of circulating today about Dave Filoni talking about the world between worlds and how it is not meant to be a time travel device? Like, you can enter in those doors, but it's not like you enter in those doors and go altering and jumping in and out of different time frames. So it seems like if it is Anakin from a different time, that he must just have some meaningful conversation with her next week and
I
then
think
skedaddle back to his place.
it would be so emotionally jarring that Ahsoka meets up with Anakin before he's fallen to the dark side, and she is unable to tell him what's in his future.
That's actually a good point. But that actually ties back to the episode of the son and the daughter on Mortis, because Anakin, when he's there, he receives the vision that he becomes Darth Vader when he's on that planet.
Right.
But then something happens in that episode where he, like, by leaving the planet or something, he loses like the amnesia, or he loses that memory, and so he doesn't know anymore. But anyway, you're right, because part of that is because when Ezra's in the World Between Worlds in Rebels, he sees a lot of different scenes happen. Like, he sees Vader and Ahsoka dueling, and he actually saves Ahsoka by pulling her out and into the World Between Worlds. Then he sees Kanan when Kanan is sacrificing himself, and he wants to try to save Kanan, but Ahsoka tells him basically, you can't. Like, you can't alter that event.
Yeah, it gets so tough though, because why was he allowed to alter Ahsoka's?
Yeah, but see, Ahsoka had to go back into that Malachor door. She couldn't, like, go and leave some other place. She had to return back to that time and that place.
Yeah.
Even though at that point, though, Vader had already left by the time she goes back through the door. And wasn't the Kanan door anyway like a deception by Palpatine, that Palpatine was actually just trying to entice him to, like, open that up or something to let, I don't know.
I honestly can't remember. It's been so long.
But yeah, I mean, it just introduces a whole new layer of complexity of, like, okay, what's going on? But what I do appreciate about it, though, is that they've set it up in a way that I don't think they're using it as like a MacGuffin type plot device where it just, like, fixes everything for them. It's just kind of like an interesting part of the lore.
Where they go into episode 9 and Poe's like, somehow Palpatine, and they're out, punch him in the face. No, Palpatine's dead. Don't worry about that. It brings up a lot of potential issues, but hopefully they keep it tight. They don't open up to all these weird possibilities of, the last thing I would want is some sort of multiverse madness.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, I mean, moving forward into the next 4 episodes, or however many we have left, how large of a role do you think Anakin's going to play in this? Is it just the next episode he gives some advice and then it's like they part?
Yeah. That's what I would assume. I can't imagine that he'd have some huge role.
He's not going to jump out of the door with her and they're going to lightsaber duel Baylan again?
I don't think so. No, I think it's just going to be an emotional moment between two really good friends. One who misses her master, and it was because when Baylan was talking to her, she was all like, "I don't want to talk about my past." Like, he was bringing up Anakin and the Order and all these things, and she's like, "I don't want to talk about it." It still hurts her so much.
You bring up a really good point, though, that I hadn't thought about, and it's, like, so true. The big kind of emotional weight of them meeting is that if that's truly just Anakin from between episode 2 and 3, she knows what happens to him, and he doesn't.
And she can't stop it.
And and even if she did say something to him, I don't think, I think that'd be, like, against the rules of the World Between Worlds or something, that it's like, does she even say anything to him?
Maybe she does say something to him, but it can't change it anyway.
Yeah.
The path has already been drawn. She can say something to him, but he already heard it before he became Vader anyway. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Even if she says something to him, maybe he's just dismissive of it. Like, I'd never.
What are you so worried about, Snips?
Yeah, don't worry about me, or like that's not going to happen type of thing.
Uh-huh.
She's like, literally, you kill Padme by force choking her. And he's like, did she deserve it or no?
You kill younglings. No way, how many?
How many can I take? At the peak of my strength, how many can I take? It's terrible. But anyway, so that was obviously very intriguing. Opened up a lot of questions now of like, okay, I want to see what happens here.
Yeah.
But before that happens, Ahsoka goes and has this interaction with Balin, Lord Balin, as he is referred to. And they have this duel, which I thought the interaction between them was awesome. The duel I thought was very well done. I just felt like it was a really great scene.
Yeah, why didn't she ever ignite a second lightsaber? I was always kind of waiting like, oh, she's just toying with them. And I'm like,
I like that they had a few times they're like, before they even fight, they're like changing poses and they're reacting to the different poses they're doing. You're like, you're doing that, then I'm doing this.
Yeah.
You're doing, different stances.
Similar to how Obi-Wan and Darth Maul fought, right, on Tatooine.
Yeah.
One, he switches to Qui-Gon and Darth Maul's like, oh, I know this one.
Yeah. Totally.
And he the above the head, is that Dooku that he was doing? Isn't that Dooku stance?
Yeah, Anakin and Dooku both do that in episode 2 when they duel before Dooku cuts off his arm. Yeah.
We probably need, I'm sure there's someone who did a breakdown of all the different stances that they were cycling through there. But yeah, it was cool.
Well, what's really kind of sad is the longer the show goes on, I'm like, this Balin character is like awesome. And before the show even, months ago, the actor who played Balin passed away at like age 58, like super young in my mind, which is kind of unfortunate. I mean, not kind of unfortunate, obviously very sad, tragic, but yeah, I can't help thinking about that too. I'm like, wow, this is like a really great performance by him. He's like becoming a really great Star Wars character, and it's sad that
it's because like we've never seen a Jedi like this, or lack of Jedi. I mean, never seen a villain like this. He's not dark side. He's not straight up evil, but he's not good either.
You mentioned this in the first review we did. He does have like Qui-Gon vibes. If Qui-Gon was a little bit further on the dark side. But it's like he's an independent. He's doing his own thing.
Yep. And what's in it for him? Like, he has some motivation, but he doesn't care about Thrawn.
Yeah, but he keeps talking about this greater good, and I'm like, what is the greater good that you think you're doing by bringing Thrawn back or finding these hyperspace lanes?
Or maybe it's not even anything to do with Thrawn. He just knows by getting Thrawn back here, something else will happen.
Yeah.
That he wants, right?
Right. Well, in an attempt to stop the coordinates from being transmitted to the hyperspace ring, Ahsoka tries to grab the star map and it burns her hand, hence my background of, even though Balin destroyed the map, Ahsoka's got it right here, baby.
I should have done the Home Alone scene where Harry burns his hand on the door.
Yeah.
And that was kind of odd that, anyway, still had the map right here. And then What's-Her-Face comes back, and it seems like right then Ahsoka's worried that Sabine has died. Well, we didn't talk about the Sabine fight. I felt like she was doing great. Holding her own just fine,
Holding her own just fine. Way better than she did, obviously, in the first match up with.
But because she was using her Mandalorian stuff.
Yeah, her armor was on, which was helpful. And then when she kind of fell over at one point, she tried to use the Force unsuccessfully, but then just shot her little wrist missiles out.
See, I think it was deliberate. I think it was purposely. Yeah. Watch out for the wrist rockets. Anyway.
But then, so the apprentice Shin, isn't it Shin?
That's her name. Yep.
Shin comes back in the middle of Baylan and Ahsoka's duel. Ahsoka thinks Sabine is dead. We see some emotion out of Ahsoka. She flings Shin against a rock. Like, I like, I know that people criticize that we don't want to see just every single person just be absolutely all powerful with the Force. But I like to see powerful Force users. I like powerful Force users in my Star Wars.
Yeah.
And so I like to see Ahsoka show us kind of the extent of her affinity with the Force.
A little dark sidey, don't you think?
A little Anakin-esque.
Mm-hmm. He would have done that.
Oh, he definitely would have. And Baylan kind of taunting her with that during the duel about how Ahsoka's legacy is the same as her master's, just like death and destruction.
Mm.
And I feel like that was a prime opportunity for Ahsoka to be like, do a little trash talk and be like, you're right, and like punch him in the face or something. But anyway, so afterwards, has Ahsoka? Oh no, Sabine shows up, so Ahsoka knows she's there.
Sabine has the map.
Has the gun against the map. Like, I'm gonna.
This was a great scene. This was so great.
Destroy it because it was a complete standoff.
Yeah.
And I was just concerned that if Sabine pulled the trigger, she'd actually blow off her hand too. So I wasn't quite sure that she looked as threatening as she thought she did.
She didn't think it through. Oh wait, I'll throw it up in the air, then shoot it. That's all. Oh
yeah. Yeah. But so we're at the standoff, which is what they set up at the beginning of the episode. Of Ahsoka's like, "Can I count on you to do what we need to do?" But Sabine's idea of what we need to do is different than Ahsoka's.
Mm-hmm. We need to go get Ezra.
That little bit of hesitation, and Ahsoka was basically backed into off the side of the cliff and just kind of by sheer gravity forced off of that cliff.
Yeah, fly you fools, I think is what she said.
Yeah. Which then I think opened up like an awesome interaction now between Baylan and Sabine that I thought was very, very good.
Almost like Palpatine talking to Anakin.
Yes.
You know what needs to be done. Let's go do it. I'm with you. Let's go find him.
You know that it's always interesting in my mind when I am watching a scene like that and I put myself in the protagonist's shoes, Sabine, and I think to myself, I'd probably go with him.
You got some good points.
Yeah.
Like the opera scene, isn't it? You know?
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to find with Ahsoka. She doesn't want you to go find Ezra. I'll help you find Ezra. Let's go.
Yeah, and so especially if Sabine at that point, does Sabine think Ahsoka's dead? I feel like I would be like, I don't think Ahsoka's dead. There's a 50-50 chance she's alive.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be so quick to be like, oh my gosh, she's dead. I'm like, all you saw was her roll off a cliff. But there's water down there. She could be swimming back to the shore right now.
Yeah, I don't think Sabine thinks I think Sabine knows that her and her master are on different paths, and she needs to go this way.
Or maybe Sabine and Ahsoka off screen planned this. And they're like, Sabine, you be the mole and go with them, find Ezra, bring him back, but leave Thrawn and the Dathomir lady in the unknown regions.
There you go. But we haven't talked about Hera yet. Hera leaves, and
she's bringing the Rangers of the New Republic with her.
Yeah, Phoenix Squadron.
We got Carson back. He's in every Disney Plus Star Wars show.
Yep, he's in it.
Cara Dune, absent.
Yeah, she gone. Yeah.
No Cara Dune. I was like, where's Cara Dune?
They come and they get holdoed. Luckily, the ship had a giant hole in it, so not everyone died.
You know, that I did question a little bit, like, you have the infinite dimensions of space, and you guys didn't do any type of evasive maneuvers. Like, you could be going towards the hyperspace ring at an infinite number of possible angles, and you guys are going straight on so that if it is going to go into hyperspace, you're right in the path of it.
I think their idea was we'll block their path. But then, that didn't work out. Maybe they thought, because I think like the hyperspace computers will be like, oh, there's something in your way, you can't jump yet or something, right? But maybe that was their intent.
That's a good point. Yeah, I don't know. But ultimately ineffective.
Totally. But kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, and then we've talked about the world between world scenes or the scene and open up so many possibilities.
Shin wakes up and force chokes Sabine.
Oh, yeah, that.
But then Baylan, a little bit of character development though for Baylan, where he's like, "Let her go. I'm keeping my word." So, I like Baylan. I'm a Baylan fan.
I want to learn more about this guy. The show should be named after him, it feels like.
That's right. I mean, the title of the episode is Fallen Jedi. So who is that about? Is it about Baylan? Is it about Ahsoka because she literally fell off a cliff?
Is it about Anakin?
Is it about Anakin?
Is it about Sabine, who never became a Jedi?
Is it about
Qui-Gon?
Is it about Jason Syndulla? who's like, I got a bad feeling about this.
No, he just said, I got a bad feeling. Who wants to be a Jedi? Yeah, I don't know.
Who's probably Force sensitive, right? His dad was a Jedi. Even though, have we debunked at this point that the Force is hereditary? It's not supposed to be hereditary, even though every indication in every piece of media says it is.
Yeah. I mean, all signs point to it being hereditary. But anyway.
The Force is strong in my family.
What do you think's happening next week? I guess we're going to be in the world between world between worlds and also in hyperspace. I'm sure that journey's not going to be fast.
Yeah, it's
a travel montage maybe.
I wonder, can Sabine use the world between worlds to travel to wherever the hyperspace ring ends up?
I don't know.
Possibilities are
that's cool.
I
think they're going to use the Purrgil. You know that already.
Well, and I don't know how much stock to put into this type of stuff, but I do feel like there's been tweets and things of people saying, if you thought the people who've seen it already, like or reviewers or whatever, they're like, if you thought episode 4 was crazy, like the rest of this season just delivers on another level. Like it's going to get so good, blah, 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 blah. But I've heard that before, Joseph. I've heard it before.
Yeah. But this was by far the best episode of the season. Would you agree?
Yeah. And it kind of holds true to exactly what we said about some of the other shows. Why did it take us 4 episodes for it to be like, okay, this is good? Like, those first 3 episodes could have been condensed into a half episode.
And the main character has emotions and she cares about people.
She
has internal struggles that she's dealing with. Oh, this is interesting.
Yeah. But anyway. So I'm excited for the rest of the season.
Yeah, what do you guys think of the episode? What do you think is going to happen? Is it a big old wolf in sheep's clothing of Anakin Skywalker, but it's actually Sam Witwer the whole time?
Sam Witwer, that little devil.
Silly Sam. Anyway, let us know what you think. And Sean, I'll see you next week on the Dads of Dagobah.
That's right. We have spoken. Bye.
We'll see ya. We got that ending wrong again.